o tamge do je ja jer son ro jin je mo do do je bon jong ba sir je lum bo ta bro je ba go ja 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 bo ja do go jan za tor jen jan je de lo na ro da ma ba ma la ju je gam bo ba Pamo Juba Jawan Dugumba Kajula Mananje Dajo She Donandana Zera Damje da Lama Lava Laye Jisozo Lazon Yoden Jamsung Alava Dendre Donchen Rube Gele Zor Daga Lo Jizo No Arsenja Labdo Zor Ju Lamdo No Arsenja Labdo Zor Lan Chua Sevara Senja Labdo Zor Chuba Yishi Zan Jawara Zenja Laudo So Gange Denjen Jawaran Jong Gapa Me Ba Je Me Ba Che Ba Me Ba Ta Me Ba Wa Me Ba Ro Me Ba Ta De Do Me Dunje Me Chuba Nye She Shaden Ba Zobo Sanje Mananje Tamba De Lo Zan Za Do Denjin Za La Ma Je Je Ko Zan Do Je Sen Lan Da 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 Ge Je Lan Pe De Da Ge De Ma Dan Sun Je Je Don Ja Jen Bon Ra Bar Jinje lao de so Nam Kwa Tang Nyambe Senjin Tam Che Je Tong De Den De La Na Me Ba Yang Da Ba Zobu San Je Je Gong Pang Rumbo Che Tobar Xia Di Chi De Dambi Ju Gan Hik Sin De Dong Nyam Se Lamar Jo Nyambe Samba Chan Chu Jo De Sem Ji Ba Tang Chu Nin Be Kun Ju Tang Kun Long Manur Gon Sim Ban Chal Tela Gansim Barsawe Chune, Kyobpa di Sumgön Gombo, Deni Jinzebe, Damchi Gongba Jikpa. Tela Dorji Song Jadang Abju, Dang Tsomdun, Yopare. Teni di Ode, Teni Hyardam Dang, Lintab Yopale, Da Hyardam Korni Chepakabris.
So can cultivate motivation, thinking, may all mother sentient beings, limitless space, attain the state of perfectly complete enlightenment. And for that sake, I'm going to listen to the Dharma and thereafter engage in practice to cultivate such a motivation of bodhicitta, which is the unmistaken motivation for listening to the Dharma. And the Dharma we are listening to is teaching by Lord Jikten Sumgön called the Gong Chik, the Buddha's single intent, consisting of 150 Vajra statements in 7 sections, and then some oral instructions and a supplement. And now we are talking about the oral instructions.
Ta de la ringtun kordang na zo drja la song da ringtun si ba de so so rang da ringtun ba dan de tara de hyadam de sung kuin de jinga dorji si ra ke song go yo wa tene da drja na zo ba la tene mandi chu che par like din ba so tene chu ke 다 만디 기반의 제당 아주 제 ndala 제 달래라본로 휴바이나 데제 시보 요바다 미반다고 지 차마송바 드니 고람 틀레 고람 슈리다 고람다고 총마송바 데다브 드니 담 지티 숨중고보케 tene sanje chumden de chuge nelo de manorwa mantorwa da lepartim bas tene min dang choge jebra rapsete so da min ba dan choge da chedan durzala chujun kolo gordu durza kanla kandor tel tertum botone tene da chujun kolo koron ko yobarwa Teri ma to yang che chu nam chu pe cho shu ri se ma Yewan ji yabate da maris. Korang ke namju paksu ke telatim ke chuchu kolo korang gero. Ta te da tone chi namju purta so ma kandar chimpi yishi dimpa tone chuchu kolo korang de. Tene nimpa drachin rugda chopjar dos ta rugda de tene namkhan rugda na te ta chopjo kasaka gogro ko drachimbo. Tina yinke tene nimba minimba ga dra ma yimba nimba ga dra te chopjo dos.
Rik tunba se ati khare rik.
Ta ringtun kordan zu ta ringtun shi ba de soso perna ta soso da na dara na nyam ba ro na nyam namju raw la konan de do.
Soran yando sherab chungna.
Jiga chiram ne korang da namju raw tamja ta korang le lakpa tamje la ke hie go ya ke yo mare was.
Korang raw gi me ra sherab chungna raw.
Kong ta da te kong des ta min ban ro to so la labzan de ja go yor me se xadam de yan topol xadam ke go mara.
So then the next it says in the text, so it is for tameable, for a variety of tameable ones who are similar. It says here kind of who are similar to like the family, but it means the kind that Sherab Chungna is the one, the disciple of Jikten Sumgön, who actually wrote this text down. So who is similar to him, who is just like Sherab Chungna, so he's the one writing here. So it's meant for those kind of individuals. And then it says, to them, the teachings are taught well and according to so the dispositions of the recipients in an kind of, it says here, an unmixed way. So unmixed here also means that it is without any unclarity and without having mixed up the order of teachings, the order of not the steps. And so it's just as the Buddha himself, when he gave teachings to his disciples, he taught those teachings in an unmistaken way according to how phenomena really are, and in an unconfused and clear way. And then the text says, while teaching in this way, it says here literally, there was a clear distinction between high and low. But here, this high and low does not mean that someone has like maybe a poor intelligence and someone a greater intelligence, but it basically means that when the Dharma wheel is turned, the Buddha taught according to the mental capacities or the dispositions, the great variety of sentient beings, of tameable ones. So according to their states of mind. So with omniscient wisdom, knowing their state of mind, he turned the wheel of Dharma. And then next it says, and then these teachings are roaring like thunder throughout the 10 directions with great renown. So roaring just like a dragon's roar that can be heard throughout the 10 directions. And with great, it says here, with great fame, or they're well known, which means that they are unpleasant teachings, they are not unpleasant.
Kandar dit sikye de ke norduna karakyo yore serna joban Jikten Sumgön ke son yab ke tambu chu di nimba de dene jinga hiram jena konga da dene chojala dene bergayin sivata tonda derwa.
So what this all is saying here in brief, this verse here, is that so Sherab Chungna is saying that I am going to increase the Holy Dharma, the teachings of Lord Jikten Sumgön throughout the 10 directions.
Tetar sabjing jache lami pe gongba 다 대들 subject 자치와 다 담비주 공바직 바데 하자 땡 sabla 되니 자치와 리와 되는데 공바 되니 공게티 추데 하자 사발 단 자치와 제 되니 데 추인데 저 용콩 라오데 다 공바 데 용콩데 다디 조반지 딘 숨진고 뭐 공기 진압을 송하려와 공기 진압을 송하려와 되니 공기 진압데 잠소 답을 송래 되니 대 인잔단데 하장 잠소제의 양발에서 다 잠소 진보시와다 하장 가자 진보 땡사보 하장게 다 보가와다 베질라 베야고 요르데 되니 자지 주택 잠시 내반데서 다 잠소 진보는 나가서 짜지가 나 강지 마도네 잠소 진보는 오마 쏨나 거 짜데 제라 충충지 야링거와 디나이다 싱하 히람진의 공개다 잠소 진보다 지tin sungong tarade gongba tinangni tini choi tikpa nangge chungshu trag zemo ge yalang o de zamje da konget ma dela hegi yin sungo yoroba tene bindom hiram jungne da ktis da bindom shede jawa juma de kong kingba jong ku yoroda gandar jinga hiram jungne shude ya tene jobanji de sum jongombo 단 린도 로축직 잠나 냠지 용네 되네 이제 딘숭공 그송 만보제 되 공게 이 토르 마틴 난게데 공리도 요러바
로축직라
로축직 잠
So then it says, let's see. So the enlightened intent, so of this text, the enlightened intent is vast, before it says, so these teachings are vast and profound and unsurpassed. So the Gong Chik is a profound and vast teaching, and it arises from the enlightened mind, the highest knowledge of Jikten Sumgön. So then it says that these vast and unsurpassed teachings come from the ocean like enlightened mind, which is vast and deep. So just like an ocean, Jikten Sumgön's realized mind is vast and endless. And then it says, and from this ocean, this vast ocean of his enlightened mind, I have picked up a tiny drop of water, just like picking up a drop of water with the tip of one's hair. So if you take a strand of hair and dip it into water, and then you pull it out of the water, then it has a tiny little drop at its tip. So the tiniest drop of water was taken from the vast ocean of Jikten Sumgön's enlightened intent. And so here it is the monk Sherab Chungnem writing. And so then in the end he says here, and it was written by the monk Sherab Chungnem. So the way it is written here is, the term monk is kind of a kind of humble way of referring to himself as a monk. Actually, Sherab Chungnem lived together with Jikten Sumgön, was at his side for about 11 years, and during this time he had received many of his teachings.
단디 직제되게 닝보의 가르쳤으나 페나 산지 좀딘데 단냠들라 되니 용케 끈가고 단더니 우송라서 바로와 대 산지 좀딘데 거식 차드 끈가고다 우송라서 바게 까이도 안제는 다 산지 그 송야 송참아 저까든 루로제는 되니 이토라 판네 되니 가란서 간저 세진다 나바 용르바
Gunga o yiktola pare.
끈가 wala majib zong yorba 되니 다 끈가고 그마 또 de 산직 송도 소마 송도 되니 인기 토라 마 판네 Then chuga jarwo to so ga jindan ze na tena wa ka duan ze terwa. De yindo dara jingha hiram jungnen de ge tene 초반제 숨정고 보게 송야 송다 따라 송추 탐제 되는 작가의 도안제네 어디 잔된 공급되는나 도다데 테레 되니 테 트사데 다사자데 되는 바제 라말라 제사로
Sacha.
로브라 카르초스는도 서나 드리송도 로브라 카르초스 되는 예나 바제 요마레 사자데 닥 팀스
콩 이게 뒤에 사차데.
저사데 로브라 카르초스 다 마음발라 주소양 더서 송아이나 네 제버지 차도 요로와 로브라 카르초스 사던데 공게 이토로 판제 바레시.
And so the essence of this verse is that so it's similar to when the Buddha was alive. So the Buddha had two main attendants or disciples. There was Ananda and Kashyapa and so on. And after the Buddha had passed away, Ananda was said to have an unfailing memory. So he had memorized all of the Buddha's teachings, and he would recite them from his memory. And in this way, all the teachings of the Buddha were brought together through his unfailing memory, and he would recite them, and then somebody else would record it down, would write those teachings down, all of the teachings of the Buddha. So this was at the command of one of the Dharma kings at that time. And so it was just like that with Sherab Chune and Jikten Sumgön. Sherab Chune compiled all the teachings of Jikten Sumgön and wrote them down. And then the place where he wrote that down is not mentioned here, but it is Lodrak Karchu. It's also a very special holy place, so if you want to go there in the future, that's one holy place.
Da di od ngoat namda kanr takar gewandi so ta number ta pa sibande teni di lo de den zhe gab zu da lo de le chi so so chuje da teni cha dang la so ban ji ma song du lo de number ta ba cha de yor ba teni yang hirab la so ba tam je chung chung yi na yang ne lok je ta ba yin de Zurigin the drum Matapa in the dea mindu, Dini Hajan number taba, Hibande, Drama Tamje, the Java del Koyora. That is big current link Ursina, Kanrakapo Tavaris, Ta Kanrakabola, then Drama Nano Kayami Bate. This is also good. That data will give at these Soso Rani, Galaksa number tabatan, Hiram number tabo Tony. Guna lawa de gewati rinchin timbas ta rinchin shibande jitin sungong ke chi je re chi mambo yo ren jitin sungor tinang chi je rinchin par shibande de ke rinchin timbas ta tinna sanji chumdin de ke timbande mandu ba yo maraba chobjur je ba dang ta chobjur se de ta maje se mi ba no chang garwa deni jitin mi hi Temong namdar hings. Ta te sob jola sanje ke temba, jir sanje ke temba, guso rinchin par jitin sungo ke temba te chob jola je na guba kare yore sina, kare chi do je go sina. Tan jitin mihi temong namdar hings. Tan jitin ngaran so, tan jitin parwa tamje, ta mare baga drep sundu, teni ta mare batumuk drep de warwa tel ten chugne long mihite ta tel travis chido jego yores ete mihitumu namdar shens.
And then there's a dedication to this section, and that says first this virtue which is completely pure, like a white snow mountain. So completely pure means that it's free from the 8 worldly concerns. It is untainted by attachment and aversion. And also, if one lacks discriminating wisdom, then one will not be able to compose a text properly and according to the actual nature of things. So that also is not the case. So it was written with wisdom and with a pure intention. So therefore it is free of all stains. And then the example here is like a white snow mountain that is an immaculate white snow mountain. And so in brief, it's written with a motivation. The virtue comes from a motivation that is completely pure, and a state of wisdom that is completely pure. And so this virtue, then it says, so by this virtue, so that just sentence structure is a little different here, but so basically, so it's talking about the teachings then, may the teachings of Ratna, it says here of Ratna, increase in the 10 directions. So Ratna is one name of Jikten Sumgön. He actually has many names. So in Tibetan, it is Rinchimbal or Ratna Shri. So may his teachings spread throughout the 10 directions. His teachings, wherein all the Buddha's teachings are complete. And so spreading in the 10 directions refers to generally the Buddha's teachings, and then in particular Lord Jikten Sumgön's teachings. And then why should they spread throughout the 10 directions? It says then, so that worldly beings become separated from ignorance and delusion. So worldly beings' mind is obscured by ignorance and delusion, and due to that, they are unable to realize the true nature of phenomena. So it is these teachings are for the sake of their separation from delusion and ignorance.
Tarsin Sanji ishi tobar shoso, that's a gimat. Tarsin Sanji ishi badata, Sabjo Langa Taji Yonso Zoba Tarsimbe, Dine Sanji is. Sanji gi hide, Chajachim, Nelo, the Chada Yorova, the Dabote, Jacompan Top Hyo, somebody. Kantaran di Hologa, de Garetting Yorisina. Toba Zoba Sanji da year, Manchibe, then Jobanji in Sumgön Gombo, Dig Timbade. Chobjo tamjela chabarhyo chamne dene taebe magin simjin tamji je dene de chuden la longsuju nyamse langde dene de nelo chaja chimbe nelo jetawa yindo to de to ne ta darade marek mungba korwa korwa zawa 다 마릭바르 차데요리 디 마릭바가 몽발레 드르데 데네 산지주고 뭐 도표 손다데 뭐아데 데 차데요로바.
So the essence of this verse of dedication is that so in the end it says may they attain the wisdom, or may they perfect the wisdom of the Buddha. So may they reach the furthest limits of the 10 bhumis and the 5 paths, and realize the Buddha's wisdom, which is the nature of Mahamudra. So may they attain that state. And so Jikten Sumgön, who is inseparable from the perfect Buddha, may his teachings pervade throughout the 10 directions, so that infinite Mada sentient beings can encounter the teachings and practice them, and then practicing them, may they realize the nature of Mahamudra as it is, and thereby may the seed of samsara, which is ignorance, the darkness of ignorance, or the blindness of ignorance, be cleared away. May they become liberated from ignorance and attain the state of Buddhahood.
Oh yeah. 단데게 디안추데게 다 샤담글레데 휴심바레 샤담글레데 뉴뇽지린도 teni da di odo nga zang zo lin tab si de la da lin tab hi ba de jirdan ka gang wa kdong re ka gare gang yong re serna dorji song ja da ngap ji de la ka gang yong yo re si 다 간더지 ndala chu de kagang ro ji insari tin nanchong nani ga mari dan din na pe gar chembo mambu hyu ji yore chepar de choran su den ha di gonje chom dun dang dor chom dun bonde ju macha ba nyoya ga tu chu ma jong kin na tene ndi lintap de sinya ga tu chu yo na 단달라 두주 림보히라 저 고마도 때인자 된디나 하장께 촘든게 냉가만 보지 철송용 거 요래 양대한 촘든보데 주 마차바 시인된긴이나 다딜린탐데 마시용 거 용바이나 대가 락바르도 카사르 땅야당 고아땡사르 로얄 핀토 침보 용거 요장 되네 대송 거 요바리스 린탑시만
Oops. So this completes the oral instruction, which was quite short. And then the last section of the text is the supplement, which is like an appendix, an addition. And so what is it an addition of? It is an addition to the 150 Vajra statements. And so if you just think that, oh, it's just a supplement, so don't think it's just a supplement, looking down on it and minimizing its importance, because actually there are many very important points in there. So if you were unable to listen to all the teachings on all the 7 sections of the Gong Chik, then and you do have time to listen to the teachings on the supplements starting now, then it kind of brings all of these 7 sections together. And so you can learn about them by also listening to the teachings on the supplement. So it teaches really the essential points of all the 7 sections of the text. And if you have already listened to the teachings of all the 7 sections, then by listening to the teachings on the supplement, then your understanding of the 7 sections previously discussed will become even more profound, even more clear. So there's great benefits in that.
Teni da longjung ton san tawa ina yang juma chapa part de sim bana de long de chem ro ya bo yong do mixa long dong do mo ko chi ro tilong cha de long tan je na ke ya hyu de tilong ro.
And from the perspective of receiving a reading transmission or a long for the text, if you have listened to all the teachings, then you have also received the long or the reading transmission. It's called the instructional reading transmission. And actually, this is the best way of receiving a long or a reading transmission.
So
That's just my opinion, but you can see for yourself whether it's true or not.
chút 파가 데데 말에 디 안다테 데보데
데네 ngati yiga ditu oleyo kapsunga ina do ko tene ngayiga ditu ore ina kasare ore
ya tene da lindan de la dorjison yipju hebde yobares dorjison yipju hebde ko tone song ko yobare da tende 담보데 도지송데 가레스나 초드 jarwa kunje timba 직송 단데레 다 초드 jarwa kunje timba 제 히반데 다 담본데라 다데 직딩송 공바 차 연구 여러 초 다라데 소주 뜻음지 jarwa 탄제 게다 timba 직리 시네 Sumgön Jikten Sumgön Tenin Delata the Sumgön the Mason Chung Karayori, Chitang, Teha Gogoro. The Sanje Gitimbala Shok, Tusama Je de Vajra, Goa Lindu, Godang Detini, Ramara Gono, Yorwa. Godang Ramara Gosualatine, Tini Tendreke, Yamlin Ankite, Yurimbo Huan Gondo, Yorita, Sanjevala. 다 상제발로 유는 휴원걸 되바이나 델레투베게 진 파치아 망르와 진 파치 망나 양 조사 레사 안도 코와라 망코네 티니 지마직 상제 콤판 토비알 람라 라양 휴토메도 대청로와스.
So the supplement consists of 47 Vajra statements, and the first one says, the teachings of all the victors of the 10 directions in 3 times is one. So that is Lord Jikten Sumgön's intent. His view is that the teachings of all the Buddhas in the 10 directions and 3 times is a single one. And so the reason for saying that is because a fault could arise where different individuals enter the path of the Buddha and hear the Dharma, and then gain all sorts of different understandings of those teachings. And if they are understood in many different ways, then it might take a very long time for the practitioner to attain enlightenment, and one will also encounter more various conditions and obstacles and so on. And so then again, one will accumulate karma that will cause one to wander in samsara. So and then it's doubtful and uncertain whether or not one will again enter the path of the Dharma.
Dan the Godang Kadao Gosun Resena Sanji Tapernas Japo Jela Japo Jigmarita Japo Tamjela Suso Langakong Yoruba Nina Jagala Pachar Jartin Jata Denchitonga and Chayori Lavre Theologiana Jar Denchitonga in Sayo
Jarabdo.
Jarpo Detsi Pena Majida Semandro Zuki Nimbo Semandro Shakja Japo Semandro Da Yoruba Koranza Jar Denchitonga and Chayu Sayota. That tetso suso la nga kong ke bang maser suso la yorwa ta te la sam tang sam wa te yindo ta sanje tamje la yang susu durza suso la durza ta de ba manda ta tenda je yure te yo ba la te ta sanje ge chu te yang manda shiu je cha de yor sanje re le chu manda ba re da wa je ta te sam tang sam wa ta na yi sanje ge chu tamje Rojikpa Kandar Ngaranzo Rojikpa Tabukachi Nimpo Tonda Chik Yimba de Matoba Tesito Tene Yang Ngaranzo Nyamtoba no de Ya Compern Rotoko Yomarwa. The Inzan Dan Jikten Sungu Sundu, the Sotsama Jibare Song.
For example, it is like different like juris, how do you call that? Juristical. Anyways, there's different like districts, let's say, different districts in a place. In old India, for example, there are different districts, different kinds of divisions of locations where kings rule, and because it's a vast country, they each have their own individual kind of group of subjects, the people that they rule over. And so they're all different. So the people in one place are different than the people in another place. And so similarly, then the Buddha's disciples are of different kind. And then the Buddha teaches the Dhamma according to those different kinds, the various kinds of individuals. And in that way, then even one single Dharma manifests in many different ways. So that's basically the viewpoint of other people who have not realized the one taste of all the teachings. And until one has realized this single taste, one has not yet realized the essence of the Buddha's teachings. And until one has realized that, one's experience and realization cannot increase. And so therefore Jikten Sumgön says that all these teachings are actually one.
Oh,
I forgot to mention there's 175 different, maybe in India. There's 175 districts for kings in India, in North India. It's either 75 or 175. Either one.
Jikten Sungu Sundu Sanje Tamje Jigris Sanje Tamje Jimba Gare China Jig Chad Yorisna Sanje Tamje Sanje Jum Din Dere Jum Shibande Ta Duya Lasubake Ta Marek Batara Tamji Numo Batara Drapatara Tamji Bang Jumbarwa Din Sendu Tel Tubake Panza Pane Yindu Yuntin Tamje Din Yung Badala Then Din Hibara Din Hiba the Yu Hibatonra Then Naran so that Jitin Sungu Gumbala Tande Yimba Tandes Tabun de Yuntin Tamje the Dimba Din Hibander and Dalan Hejana Yaboyori Din Hiba the Tabun de Yuntin Tamje the Dimba Tandeke Yuntin the Dimbas De Hiban did say the Karesina did say the Lozawa Namji Zubari Sunkoyo Mambok. Ligarjiki rang nan de he but take the Taktaji Manduk Sunkoyore. Taanchang around Sokoto and Piano Hugabaina. Tunda de you the Yoruba Ligargela, Gandar de he but Tunda Karisina Sanji. Jeta Nintu Laya Dajumba si Yuri Dajum Sen Duta Numobala Suba Korang Kartuba Panzatan Pandu, Tobza Korang Kartuba Tobza Tol, Ranjala Yuri Ranja Dajumba Nintu Dajumba. Then it Jancho Sembala and Papa Shipper Ticket Tunda the Yorovata. The Yinan de Hibandek Tsola Garwasta Young Sunyangin Deba, that the Koyora, that Sangje Hibata, Gandar Sangje Shibandala. Then the Jumdin Day, he banned you don't that chick chat Yoruba.
So Jikten Sumgön says that all the Buddhas really are one. And so why is he saying that? It is because all the Buddhas are what is called transcendent conquerors, or in Sanskrit Bhagavan. And so in Tibetan it is Chomdende. So it consists of 3 syllables. And to explain those 3 syllables, Chomdende, Chom means to have conquered. And so the Buddhas have conquered the 4 maras: ignorance, the afflictive emotions, all obscurations, coarse and subtle. So that's the conquering, the conqueror. And then, Chomden, so den means to possess or to be endowed with. So one who is endowed with this victory of conquering. So endowed with or possessing means that as the Buddhas have engaged in the path of abandoning what needs to be abandoned, they have gradually acquired all enlightened qualities. So Jikten Sumgön explains the Buddhas are this dain or possessing, having, means that they have the quality of being free from all faults and possessing all enlightened qualities. And then the 3rd syllable, de, so Chomden de, means the transcendent, the going beyond. And it is actually said, some people say that this word was created or added to the Sanskrit term by the Tibetan translators, the Lotsavas. And they say that it doesn't actually exist in Sanskrit exactly in this form. but probably this term transcendent obviously exists in Sanskrit too. So that's the Bhagavan, or the transcendent conqueror, Jomdende. And and so the Buddha outshines all of the arhats on the lower vehicle. So that also means transcendent. So he transcends, for example, the hearers and the solitary realizers, or the Shravakas and the Pradyekas, which are all arhats. And arhat means foe destroyer, enemy destroyer. So those arhats have destroyed the enemy of the afflictive emotions. And there are Pratyeka arhats, and there are Shravaka arhats. And then there is the noble beings, the bodhisattvas. So the transcendent means to transcend all of that. And transcending all of these, the arhats and the bodhisattvas and so on, the Buddha has attained complete enlightenment, or paranirvana. So the complete state of enlightenment is what is referred to as the Jomdende, or the Bhagavan, the transcendent conqueror.
Ta sanje hibande la Buddha hibadala dangdu, ta Buddha hibadala dangwandela sangje sungayo baris. Tan the sangje hibande donda ga toni hibze ge ta timre ge chu tamje kongtu chu bas. Tene delan je he jandu ta marek be ta hibze chu tamje kongtu chu go yina ta gare go yoresina marek ba pang go yores. Tene marek ba ni rawo tele pa sang ne ni ya se la kuno nga so te taban tene marek ba ni de sang ne tene hibze ge timre ge nelo dada tamje la tene lodu ge pemo tar to ya jeong ba chani sangje shugo yorwa di chane Buddha shibande sangje tamje la jugo yo bare so.
And then the word for Buddha in Tibetan is Sangye, and Sangye, or Buddha, so consists in the Tibetan again of two syllables, Sang and Gye. So first, a Buddha is someone who has fully, entirely, or completely comprehended the interdependence of all knowable things, of all phenomena. And how did he fully comprehend that? It is because Buddhas have fully abandoned ignorance, or they have awoken from the sleep of ignorance. And awakening from the sleep of ignorance, they see the true nature of interdependence. And so sang, the first syllable of sangye, means this waking up from the sleep of ignorance. And then the second syllable gye means like expanding. And then having woken up from the sleep of ignorance, then their knowledge, their wisdom expanded like blossoming lotus flower. So that is what we call a Buddha, and it refers to all the Buddhas.
Tene da jerdan sanje tamje tsungba namba ye gonen tsunga yoreso. Tsungba je yigen tsungba. Je niba de song tsungba. Sunba de chun tsungba. Yiba de gun. Da gun nyamba zena gun tsungba si. Da yigen tsungba hiba de Buddha hiba ndari de yore. Yigen tsungba hiba. Tene niba song tsungba hiba de da sanje tamje la sungyang yin la trukju ke yong din de yore so. Da trukju ba chachang ba kyu che ke yong ma re de din ang pen song yin ba dan jang ba dan. Tene mzo ba dan. Tene sarwa la so ba tene de la so ba ga da yong din mambo trukju thang ba yore wa sungyang yin la trukju. De din ba la yang chung ba re so.
And then it explains that the Buddhas, all the Buddhas, are equal in 4 different ways. they are equal. There's this equality in the word or letter. Then they are equal in their speech. They are equal in the Dharma, and they are equal in their bodies. So the first one, being equal in letter, refers to this word Buddha that we have just explained. And then second, being equal in speech means that all the Buddhas possess the 16 branches of pleasant speech or melodious speech. So we don't have time to go through all of these 60 qualities of a Buddha's speech, but for example, some of them are, the Buddha's speech is pleasant and gentle and not harsh and clear and so forth.
다 춘총바 희반데 다담 다라페나 춘총바 장초조 그 추숨지 잡든시요 다 되니 간런데 히캡타 휴요 바리 다롱 시험나 용거요래 되고라 대 간다르 장초조 그 추숨지 잡든 콩도 주발라야 총바리 소.
And then they're equal. There is an equality in Dharma, which means that they all possess the 37 elements of awakening, which we have already mentioned before, and there's more about that later. But they're equal because they all have completely comprehended these 37 aspects of awakening.
다 건총바 희반데 다 산지 탐 두섬지 산지 탐지 취지거래 마유 인도 되니 zukun이 그 로돈제네 롱거 그 누드 저바탐 드르자 저발라 롱주 조버거리 옌 트루그 그 드르자 저바탐쟁어라 트루그 그 트루버거 ngole 옌데 그 간라 간더 그 토네 제파장다 거의 토네요 총바레 송.
And then they're also equal in their body, in a sense that all the Buddhas of the 3 times manifest the 2 form bodies while never deviating from the Dharmakaya. And so, never deviating from the Dharmakaya, they manifest the Sambhogakaya for those vessels or disciples to whom it is suitable to manifest as a Sambhogakaya. And then for those disciples who are to be tamed by Nirmanakayas, they manifest as Nirmanakayas. So all the Buddha's activities or their body in this sense are the same.
다 간다르 산지게 띵바 희반달라 롱당 롱게 띵바다 또부 띵바 송거요레 롱 띵바 가레르스나 롱 데누 som난 체니 너완 도딩 um바라 소바 롱 데누 som난 체니 송 또부 띵바데 데니 데게 주자 가레르스나 라바숨 라바 추첨제 라바 라바 띵인진제 라바 라바 히랍제 라바 세다 디 라바 히랍 그 라바는 데 주데 탐제 용수만 더 요로와 데 인자 다 띵바 탐제 다 지바레 송레 롱다 데니단 디 갑즈 양디 데니 나그 촘히에 갑즈 휴심바르와 가셰게 상하 그 띵반데 다르데 다르 산지 좀딘데 데투스마도 용거 마레시 도이 띵반데 산지 탐지 그들 용거를 다다 송데 직팅 송국에 다네 조 체총 잠리마도 그 상하 띵바 인랑 종아유 송도지 송나 송송아 대인자 다 추탐제 직바차도 요레송.
And so the Buddhas are also equal in their teachings. And the teachings of the Buddha consists of 2 kinds. There is the teachings of the scriptures and the teachings of realization. The teachings of the scriptures consist of the Tripitaka or the 3 scripture collections, which are the Abhidharma teachings, the Vinaya, and the Sutra teachings. And the Buddhas have fully comprehended and teach them. They all teach them. And then there is the teachings of realization, which is mainly the teachings on the 3 higher trainings, which is the higher training of ethical discipline, of samadhi, and of wisdom. And within the higher training of wisdom, all the classes of Tantra are also complete. And all the teachings of all the Buddhas are the same in this regard. Because previously in a Vajra statement before, we said that there is some who say that the Vajrayana teachings of secret mantra occur only in the context of the present Buddha, but do not occur at the time of any other Buddha. And they say that it is just the teachings of the sutras that exist at the time of all the Buddhas. But Jikten Sumgön actually maintains that the teachings of the Vajrayana also exist at the time of different Buddhas to varying degrees, but they still do exist. And so in this sense, then all the Dharma teachings of all the Buddhas are the same.
Tan di kapsun da tinenga da ko swain na ta o sacha pa gelok pa nyingma pa kaju pa sin ta chepar me ba je go to go yore kayan sa chama sanje ba ketim ba cha ang go yorwa ta ti ba la je sorry da cha dang ji go ya me ba je de ba ena so so rani ke lo du te a chalong do ma jong ba ta do ya chela tin yong go yo ba ta ha go do yore 동구 돌 산지 그 줄에 제발미 바질라 되니 다 소소 그 시대와리 마도게 대 소소 시내다야 세트야 개요 말이 소소소소로 강아지로래 봐 대인자 맞죠 남주지 줄로 튼데 지고래 세 카그 줄로 튼데 지고래 세바 장게 마모질라 팽게 요래데 마모제 가르치는 지고를 쓰므로 자그러 봐 가르치 지고 산지 줄 제발만 도와시 산지 고랑절 제발마다 된 가랑절 제발 가르치게 걸었어. 세나 때니 알레스면로 자그러와.
And so if one understands this crucial point here, then actually one can understand that there is actually no more basis for saying that there's any difference between the different lineages such as Sakya, Gelugpa, Nyingma, or Kagyu, because they are all in the Buddha's teachings. Then there is no need to have any biased views or thoughts of attachment and aversion. And if one still engages in and entertains these biased views, then it is just because one doesn't possess the maybe the intellectual capacity to really comprehend the Buddha's teachings. Because actually within the Buddha's teachings, there really is no difference. It is actually just us who are fabricating differences and thereby fabricating difficulties. So when one understands that, then when somebody just says all the religions, all the lineages must be harmonious, then one will understand that. So why would we make any difference in any case? Because why would there not be any harmony? Because all the Buddha's teachings are actually one and the same. There is no difference. Why would we make a difference? So this is when one realizes that.
Oh yeah, then the sanje ke song ya bog long ke drako yore. That kare no lankar shikpa le song. Lord chimbo devyin shikpa namne. Tsungpa namba yela gongne. Korjin nangdo hingne ndata nga ni di tse di duna lokpar te ser top tang usung de jordo so.
So then there is a quotation from a scripture to establish this point, and it's from the Lankavatara Sutra. It says, Mahamati, alluding to the 4 types of equality, all the Tathagatas proceed before the retinue and speak thus. I now, at this time, am Krachanda, Kana Kamuni, and Kashyapa.
Oh yeah. Ta di od dorji son ni ba de rid so. Take tang jumta tamji timder yin song man de tin re. Dan de la tangbo yang yin ge yichar de Kyobpa yin na. 산지 그 추, 다 택바다 좀다 타대 바리 송리다. 가이 세난다데 늘 줌신나 바니로 송도와. 제데 다 대기 산지 그 팀 추, 다 택바 나 조바니도 띵게 요리시. 가인스는 단 지팅 칸 라라네 택바 침보 택친 바바히 인도 양 텔레트바가 드라그 추젝팅 바당 데 라라네 택바 충어제 인도 텔레팀바가다 제 타치데 드라우체 띵키데 바라오제 드라송고 요레 손에
Jikten Sumgön.
마리 잉게
Vajra.
단 지팅 송고 손데 다 택바다 좀다 담제 다 팀들이에서 다 간다르 다 못해죠.
And then next is Vajra statement number 2. It says, all the vehicles and tenets are the Buddha's dependent origination. And that is in response to people's claim that the teachings of the Buddhas are different while the tenets are certain. So they say that because there are people claim that there are differences in the Buddhism teachings because when the Buddha teaches the Dharma in this world, there is some who are inclined to the Mahayana teachings, and then the Buddha would teach the Dharma in accordance with that state of mind. And then there's others who are inclined to the Hinayana teachings, and then the Buddha would teach in accordance to that. And so therefore they claim that the various tenet systems and the lineages, the vehicles, are separate.
Jerdang teni gangla songchar tikpa che chung simchi che simchi che pra yin song ne ma do ge nda ta je de ti longba de tingmin longba re nda longba de tikchin longba re ser ne ko jiktin trak chu le tan da song ari ma do ge dong ko to le tan yong go yo ma re son ta ningbo jik ban ra wo ji tan de la tim de yin shi ban de la tim de na ba ye go no song go yo ba re che tinder nang tinder sang tinder kazak tinders tinder na ba ye gon song go res.
And so we already mentioned that before. It's because it is due to the various forms of interdependence that things may appear separately, but then really are not. So as you mentioned in the previous statement, what really distinguishes the vehicles is the motivation, the mind generation, and not, for example, the location. We say that there's certain places in the world that are Mahayana and certain places are Hinayana, but this is just how it is explained kind of in a mundane way. This is where those teachings have spread, but ultimately this is not the case. And this Vajra statement is explained through 4 kinds of dependent origination. There's the outer, the inner, the secret dependent origination, and number 4 is the dependent origination of the person or individual.
다 담보 제 팀들 시반들 베르 차이나 팀 메톤데 다버 차 야바이나 메톤데 그 사운 되네 다 사운레 되네 자와야 제고르바 자와레 되네 데그 동보야 제고르바 동보레 되네 야가제 야가레 되네 데 메토들 되네 나마 나만난도 되네 코랑게 심주 dela soba chama chik le tin de yo baris ti jane pen dambo che timders.
The outer dependent origination, for example, is a flower. So that there's first the seed of the flower, and from the seed grows the root, and then from the root grows the stalk, and from the stalk grows the various kind of branches of the flower, and from that grows the flower, and then from that grows the leaves, and then due to all of that coming together, then in the center of the flower is a pollen bed. So everything originates depending on something else. So that's the outer interdependence.
Tiana yinke perna ta namjung azoji shenjua yala samno tamari nayam pinzun chekjila tin de yubarwa ta dela soba ke che timder ndare de endu ta tikba da jamta shiban de yang tamje sanji ke timder cha de yori songre de chaban de ta durja ke kam mupa deni wang bu sebda la soba tamje deni gantar kare cha de yorisina 산지의 공바 따라데 산지의 초니 공바 퍼드중 퍼드심바 팀더 데코나레 만데바리 소네 초니 미제 소난 그 초당 미미 이식 초니
Or the outer dependent origination would also be the interdependence of anything else with the four elements, the interdependence of the elements. And so then the outer interdependence applied to the Dharma is that all the vehicles and the different philosophical traditions, tenets, all are interdependent origination leading up to Buddhahood and manifest in various ways due to the dispositions and the aspirations and the capacities of the disciples, but they all lead to the attainment of Buddhahood through the interdependence of having accumulated the two accumulations, which is the conceptual accumulation of merit and the non-conceptual accumulation of wisdom.
Da nang ke timde yena jirdan da nang ju ji simjin damje le sang dangwa yena yang jirdan ke je gombo lodop ke sungbarwa jikten tamje le jong song le jang na cho ni le drop song rwa dan ngarang cho yang ju ji simjin da tamje yang le ma tu ba je yo mares ta le ram da sabala tine David Damara pen ngarang su dungba ko gun de chipo kang sang ta wa na mai dal mai ni yo ba tene amcho ni yo de ba na jing ma do me de kare sim da je ro wa de tamje kare je ne na go la ka yo re sim na go la ka yo ro de cha ma le ro le ta tien ze ta le je ta be le kre ma je ke de ra ma bo ji zu de ba re sina de ma re wa si le na zobala tine den reven na zoban jo go yo ba inza ta jumre ke timra ke thone yang tanda cha de yoris.
Then the inner dependent origination is related to the inner content of the outer universe. The inner content are the sentient beings. And Nagarjuna had said that everything in this world arises from karma. And karma then manifests in myriads of ways. So the sentient beings within this universe, there's no sentient being appearing without karma. So all appearance comes from karma. So because there is a great variety of karma, there is a great variety of results. For example, if we just think about our face, so we have 2 eyes and we have 2 ears, but why do we only have 1 nose? And why is it that the mouth is exactly under that nose? It's because of karma. And is it just one certain karma? It's not just one karma. It's the coming together of many different karmic actions that leads to this great variety of different results. So that's the inner interdependence of karma.
Ta tindra samba de samu tindra cha de yore. Samu tindra de kantar samba. Samno ko thoni yong yore. Jeta nawa anda da rang sem sumba tar de nawa thamje sem cha de yore wa. Same jing nang wala nang wa telatine, de le ramda sane, le nang ramda hyayung yorwa. De yin zang da ngarang zuji zang da ngi la soban da tamje yang sem la ra le de yoba, sem ji timde la tu du yoba. Tarto? There is.
And then the third dependent origination is the secret dependent origination, and that has to do with our mind, the interdependence of our state of mind. It is said that all appearances are one's own mind. How we see things is our own mind. So various karmas accumulated lead to the appearance of various karmic perceptions, karmic appearances, positive or negative, depending on one's own mind or state of mind. So that's the secret interdependence, the interdependence of the mind.
Da gantara chi chung da yung din tam chi sem la thâu du yore, nang wa rang sem song jo de la thâu du yore. De yin zang da sem de la din ne, teni cho ni gomba la din ne, teni nang wa tam chi da de ba. Nang wa tam chi da bu rang yin de nang yung ba. Teni drim ni gom da la din ne, drim ni nyum mo ba da ba, hiz da ba gom da la din ne, teni nang wa tam chi ma da ba dang. Nang wa la din be so su da lu la nyung cho wa tam chi la teni mundu ba dong ha wa la su ba nyung yung ko yo ba. Dan da ra yin zam, de yang, da tim de la ra le du yu du, de re. De ganza ke tim de re shi ba da ganza korang ngu ni, da tim de to pa thab lan be go yo re. Tim de yin ba la, ma yin ba chik la yin par to pa thab lan be na, to mi re. Kable to mi de jab de ba cha de yo re. Yin na yang, yin ba la yin ba tar do, da de to pa thab lan be ba yin na, da de la nyi ma chik la, teni di dong da de to to ba. To na keping kare yo re si na, gang tar yang, nga rang zu dongha hi ba mundu ba dongha da yang dewa la jyor to ban da, timder ke ne wab ka cha ko yo re. De yin zang da nga rang zu je, da timder la, timder de, jer na de ne timder tar sin song, Kyobpa Jikten Sumgön gombo kong rek dawe na, tara ye chong po si ne, tene tara chakpo yung ne, tene timder ke ne wab chik zin yung du, tene ta timder tar sin, Kyobpa Jikten timder tar sin gombo, nda gongba sin sin yung su cha sung warwa. Ta timder tar sin si di chik timder dawa chik zo ne, lakpe chik zo ne le nda go yung marwa. Timder shi bande sem ko toni, tene ha go go nenga chik cha de yu du. Ta ganza ka timder si na, ganza kuranga ngu ne te taba, timder to pa thalam be ne, ta timder to sunga ina, tene ta kare shio golo, gandar chu tamje ke ta ne lau de kong tu chu yung go yorba.
So all faults and all good qualities come from the mind, so the interdependence of the states of mind. So therefore all appearances, all perceptions are one's own mind. And depending on that state of mind, and now having accumulated the twofold accumulation, then pure perceptions manifest. And if the mind is driven by obscuration, the obscurations of the afflictive emotions and the subtle obscuration to omniscience, then impure manifestations will appear. And then when one sees things in an impure way, then one will feel negative in one's body and also within one's mind. One will feel unhappy and so on. So it's all the interdependence, due to the interdependence of one's states of mind. And then the fourth interdependence is the interdependence of the person. So from the perspective of a person or the practitioner must make an effort to realize interdependence. And so that means that one must make an effort in what actually is and not try to realize something that doesn't really exist, because that would be pointless. But one should make effort in realizing what actually is. And if one makes this effort, then eventually one will realize the ultimate truth. And then the benefit of that is that then one will be able to transform everything that is undesirable, unpleasant, or unsatisfactory, will be transformed into bliss and happiness. So that's also interdependence. For example, Lord Jikten Sumgön, when he was practicing in the Echong cave, he is said to have realized there the nature of interdependence. So he had perfected interdependence. And therefore in our prayer to Jikten Sumgön it says, Lord Drigung Bar, the Lord of interdependence. It's because he had realized the nature of dependent origination as it is. And interdependence is not something that we have to create interdependence, like interdependently. We don't have to use our hands to create some interdependence, but it's something that we need to understand with our mind. It happens within our mind. And so the interdependence of the person means to make an effort, that the person makes an effort to realize the nature of interdependence, the true nature of all phenomena.
Ta Jikten Sumgön ke Juba Rinpoche den timde la ra le song yo re. Juba Rinpoche se ta Drigung ka ju de la yang timde la ra le song yo. Tan dal mambo che ke timde shi ba de o nga ka shi le ya yong wa ta nyam de la. De ne nu na na o chi o ma na wo che ke ya kang ya jo tok song se. Ta timde ze ta ze Pero ti gona ni chorang ma yong ata nga ke ti phoba na no ma phoba kan korpa le yong wa chorang tho yo na ti o ta te tendre ya po ji ris ta tena da o ji song kan ta rong ba lan tena jang jang jing dong ki jing sa re sam sa do ko len do ngane ta na
Drigung ba ten da re
ta ga shen ta ma re rong te tinder juba rom bo che tinder la ra le sung de ta tinder ya po jin dai go ya tinder ya po jin dai go sam de tela sam kon do wa si de gar chen bo da ha ko go ya de te tinder re de che ya po te da wan dai do bo di ge chan ne da ra sung ko yo ma re tinder thar sin te juba rom bo che tinder la ra le shi ban da tanda jang jang na tara gang shu ba jang jang na sang tang de wa na de ni ta wa to ne kem sa cha yong ko yo da ra ta wa to ne tara nga su te lo ba ke re do kun dar ta wa jar pon cho song do te tara de re wa na wa cha da re wa na o nga te thok sung che ya po chi jong so nga te we tim de shu jing dai song ya po ta wa to da da ke samno te redo ra te tar to go yo wa lapar to nyamning ke chegin tor ke je ne rewa ta ya che rewa chimbo ji wa ta ma sa la to pa chimbo ji ya de ne ta ne ji pang to go yo ri ta wa cha ja chimbo ma to bong nguro ni de ko nam ju ye na ko rojek sa la lep sa de ne kan sa ke che cha nyam ba ja ta nyam sa la ne to go ya ke de korang ke chegi je ro wa de yin ya da Tai Kandar Oma Por Kanatong de Yaburi Bate Pe Yaburi de Dea Timder Ride Timder Shiban the Kande Gombo Lodogusone Tinjin Renjung Matope Chunga Yobamaino, now under that time Timder Riga Samia cook now a lot the pa now chose low pa loca soba than yam the Timder he up the Chartabata, data which Hawaii. 파삼 노진 코와다는데 빼는가 디 메토드라 나 파타와다냐면 메토리 선 삼노든 짐바데 파트르네 팀더리 섬 나와지 저 샵터바이나 되는 거네 팀더 그다 주바로 보치인데 팀더라래 시반데 내가 될 데이터베지 용고 쓴거 여러와
Kyobpa na Drigung ka Kyobpa ra wa de
다 조반지 뒤서 저랑 나야 되리 레레
nga lai kha So Jikten Sumgön had said that Tina Yosamara. Yosamara. That's not here. So anyway, Jikten Sumgön had said that also the precious lineage arises due to dependent origination, like the Drigung lineage. So there's this thing with this term, dependent origination. In Tibetan, it's Demdrel. And Demdrel, so it means dependent origination, but it also means, sometimes it just means it means auspicious. For example, if I'm sitting here with a cup of tea and I want to have milk in my tea, and then somebody walks in the temple door bringing milk, then I feel like, oh, that's auspicious. I just wanted milk and here it is. So that's the same kind of term that they're using in Tibetan for auspicious and interdependent. So they would say it's Demdrel, or it's auspicious or interdependent. So in some sense it is interdependent, but it's not exactly what we're speaking about here, about realizing the nature of interdependence. And so if we think about it from the perspective of the tea milk example, then I think it will be a little bit strange when it comes to our realization of the actual view. Because Kyobpa had said to be free from hopes and fears is the king of views. And so if I want to have milk in my tea, then I have some hope. And so therefore not the king of views. So it's not that kind of Demdrel or auspiciousness or interdependence that we're talking about here. So from a real high perspective of practice, we have to be free of hope and fear, free of hope to attain some high grade state, and free of fear of taking a lower state, being on a lower level. So all of these thoughts of hope and fear need to be abandoned when we practice Mahamudra. And then within Mahamudra, within the 4 yogas of Mahamudra, when we come to the yoga of one taste, the kind of measure of having reached that level of one taste is one's ability to regard everything as one taste, completely equal. Everything is the same. And so then, of course, it is good to say that, to feel that that's auspicious, I got the milk. That's actually also in some way interdependent, but it's not quite the same as what we mentioned here. And Nagarjuna had said that in terms of interdependence, there is not a single phenomenon, not a single appearance that is not interdependent. So everything is interdependent. So whatever is the state of one's mind, if it is projected out, then this is the way it comes, kind of appears, is reflected back to one. For example, when I see a flower, then I have this thought that this is a nice flower. And so there is this grasping in my mind. So that is also interdependence. So, but here, Jikten Sumgön was speaking about the profound point of interdependent origination from the perspective of the precious lineage.
Chirdan timder shibande susu rang ke ta timder ke ninga da to sarayina. The solo la kang chong ma jong ke wanjur thukoyo mi dewa chi rindowa. Solo ke ne dang ke. Susu rang ke ta timder ke ninga da to sarayina. Solo ke da yordan tu dang de so ke chi jin be ke de so ke jin je na ching da ma da chi thya na wo de in sa ma res. Nga pe ji hyo yo gan is na de ngang sa ngi ma ni ko ma nge ko nyo de de dim ba re ya de nge jin ko on jo tara rumbo cha jing ga chen rumbo che kong pe ma ko la paris ya pe ma ko la mayom la to la pe de de ni nga zo jin na karma yin gong sen je yo re yin gong sen de karma de sa nim pa ro zhe ge yo re karma sen da nga so jin na zakar chujo yo ra tanda karma ji da karma tu karma yo ra tu karma tanda je yin ne kong pe jawa lam ro pe yapon ro ris tinga gonje de chudi te tanda da kimpo na man de he tanda ja yong ge ba tim de ra le lam de Nga te didn't train on the
Ngama.
Tanga Tikeja Samuma Colorada.
Khenpo so.
The Narang Kimbo Yorba.
Oh.
Narang Kimbo, this Gong Chik from the Yankee.
Mhm.
Did that Tinder Colon the Jagora?
Mhm.
They Tinder not they did this Tarakikeja, the Naxan Human Corridor, the Nassam the Naji Hersong. The Kare Hersun. Kanza Korangun, ne Tinder ne Tanga, what the Yapoja Hakotaba goes Hawaina. Tene Paga to two Yabomi, but sit down Yabomi, but to soak Kiki Parche Zelan Ram round to Samarios. That they answer Chesogolo. The Tarang around to some on the dinner which you chagdua. This Mang Damasan. Ah,
Mang Damasang.
see what I was. Mang, see what
You know, Chitan Rinpoche Pema go drum date and Khenpo Tenzin ko la share Java.
Oh, then there are jungle. Nga Tambo nga kita rumbo je Pema go la Mayang lan to la Paris. Then it pep the two the Yapoja la key somewhere. That's the karma the current Zin and the Yorikanda. Yina ya ti correct the Java Lando pay upon Doris. Teni te nga human go there so glow you na hakomason chick not go at the night. Teni jinning a gonje hyodu, much so can da nga chibol marwa yata, not so loma tamjela, gonje ton, timber ton, the hejara, in the hejayamba, then the chair nang sawa, then it's same dinner. Then at the character on Sina. Oh, Kanza. They do.
Did the Kerang Gong Chik Shuri and a Kerang Gong Chik Dashi Yari?
Nets are shielded.
Oh,
you did it.
Makarang Lapota.
Yes, nothing about program. Himazenda Tata. Kantar, they should do. Tene, gay characters on Sina. O Kanza Korang get tinder to Kenenga the Toswaina. The two ya po the dubok cheparke of Madoas.
Tikapla Kerangaram was a dum the Tenzon.
Not the songs. That is to lie.
So in generally, when a person has realized the essential points of interdependent origination, so then it doesn't necessarily mean that one can transform kind of manipulate the outer circumstance and so on, but things can turn out well for that person, even if things seem to be inauspicious. There's this one story I remember. It's a true story that I've heard long ago. So it's about Garchon Rinpoche. When Garchon Rinpoche was young, he was traveling to Bemagum, which is where his mother lived. And so it was said that at the time when he was traveling there, the constellation of the stars was not favorable. So it was a negative constellation and therefore an inauspicious time for him to travel. But still, Rinpoche's journey was a complete success. Nothing went wrong, nothing inauspicious happened. And so when I myself was in the past, when I was receiving teachings on the Gong Chik, I just remembered that, and also now I remember that this is really also how it is with interdependence. A person, like Rinpoche, for example, as a person who had realized the nature of interdependence, even if it says on the outer level there is evil times and there is negative circumstances and obstacles and so on, these cannot actually affect that person who has realized interdependence.
Then there is Kantar Sosok, Sengotoni, Munetane, Tinder Neva, Sengotoni, called Des Zojuchi Jatabaina, then is Cholola Pawang Jertukayori. Pe Chung Chongji Yana, Natso Gangba, Sin Gangba, Pe Chung Chongjindoa. The Gangbandela, Hango de Gonsana. Zabelen Korajan Ro de Vaina and Rotoganova. The capsule te pe kareris na kangba khal kundo ya hango teke zabelen la pawang jir suwanda wajiri ta tenda maje o nga zabelen kora jando gda sete zabelen korang la tambo o tela tsermando hingsondo hersondo sen ta kwanda o ta chanda o tom dewa na tom tsaya korang yo marwan zabelen ta de te tikpare ngarang zo slow zoji jaya de tsablo nang sem de zoji jik jab sunga ina dala te shanti dewa pe yapoji son yore tijini nga shiyong te.
And so when one has realized the true nature of interdependence, then one can overcome various or bring under one's control various outer appearances. Just to give a small example, our feet, for example, are very small. But if we put on good shoes, we can walk around the world with our feet, on our feet. So then the feet in shoes kind of bring the world under one's control. If one doesn't have those shoes, then if you want to walk around the world, then you might encounter a lot of thorns and wood and pebbles and rough objects. And then if you think that I must cover this whole world with iron or with some leather and so on, there would be no end to trying to cover it. Instead, one can just put on shoes. And so instead of trying to kind of fix the outer environment, if one changes one's own mind, then the outer environment also is brought under one's control. And so there's one really nice example given by Shantideva. Rita.
Oh yeah. Tene tsikje de ma chen rinchin ter tan rawa ye tin na yong. Rinchin ter tan rawa ye sem je sang de ma hina de top dongar yom du jang de da domi chenar jor so.
So he said, so Shantideva said that, Shantideva, right? Said that if you do not know, if one doesn't know, doesn't understand how to think properly with the mind that is like a jeweled treasure, then although one wishes to experience happiness, one destroys one's own happiness, and therefore one's efforts become meaningless.
Tate zande timder ke maduzi de kares na jatsap sambang gumbo ki jike to sonda. Tinchen derwan jong de jarwa ye Sumgön zu ji ji pa sammu ne te ke do.
Jarwa Sampa? And so then a quotation that establishes this point on interdependence is by Maitreya, and he said, "This arising as dependent origination is the profound, cherished treasure of the store of the victor's teachings."
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, sunam de damje zewanye toanye berdana pansun de juga nanje balon de baye zebe zolen do yo. May every being ailing with the disease be freed at once from every malady. May all sickness that afflicts the living be instantly and permanently healed. Thank you very much.